Coming up on the next episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We have Rob Scheer joining us. He's the co-founder of Comfort Cases for Children in Foster Care. And his topic is going to be Bring Dignity and Hope to Youth in Foster Care. I think it's going to be very interesting talking to him and learning about the need for what he provides.
Look, Daddy, teacher says every time a bell rings, an angel gets his wings.
You're now listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
She's been featured in more than 20 films from the early days of film and television.
He is a psychotherapist and her loving husband.
Together, they are on a mission to brighten your day and your life.
It's a time to smile, a time to laugh, a time to expect more.
It's time to get inspired with your hosts, Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Chris Brunell.
It's time to meet Zuzu, all grown up.
Do you believe that life is wonderful in principle, but for some reason just isn't so consistently in practice? Every life will have its ups and downs. But have you ever thought that if there were only more people around you encouraging, uplifting, and even inspiring you, then life would be more fulfilling? If only people like George and Mary Bailey were in your inner circle, then life could truly be wonderful all the time? If so, we've got good news for you, because you can find such people on this podcast and at zuzunetwork.com. This podcast is the vision of Karolyn Grimes, Zuzu, and Dr. Chris Brunell, illustrating how the timeless message of It's a Wonderful Life can be and is applied to our modern lives and situations. Indeed, when you take that message to heart, your life will become immeasurably more wonderful. Visit us at zuzunetwork.com and listen to this podcast series to learn more about how. Now sit back, relax, and get ready to enjoy another episode of Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Get ready for miracles. Get ready for Zuzu, All Grown Up.
Rob Scheer's childhood was filled with hardship, abuse, instability, and being passed from place to place with nothing but a trash bag to hold his belongings. But he refused to let that define him. Instead, he turned his pain into purpose. Rob, welcome. Karolyn, Dr. Chris, over to you.
Rob Scheer. He was a child who was kind of passed around in the system as a young kid, and he discovered that it was a little degrading. Every time he changed places, or any foster child changes places, they carry a plastic sack full of their items that belong to them. And that's kind of demoralizing. So he formed an operation and an organization that provides really wonderful bags for the children to carry, all full of things. And he's going to tell us all about that today. And hello, Rob.
Well, hello. Thank you both so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk with both of you.
Well, you do a fabulous, positive thing for all these children. And I know that you had a rough beginning. You have 5 adopted children with your husband. I think that's just marvelous that you've taken these children and given them a home. You've made up so much for probably the bad things that you've gone through.
Well, I will tell you, the fact is that they gave us something marvelous, and that is what I call unconditional love, something that each and every one of us on the face of this earth should know what it feels like. And for me as a young boy, I didn't know what that was. I'm actually the youngest of 10 kids. My mother had been married 6 times. I never once remember a picture on the wall. I never once remember giving me a birthday cake. And I truly don't ever remember her saying, I love you. But what I do remember is the monster that she used to allow to live in the house. And that was the person who I called my dad. You know, for me, this was the way my family was. My father would put cigarettes out on us when we were kids. If we didn't do what he told us to, being woken up in the middle of the night and taken out into the field and hidden because he was on one of his drunken rampage. And that's just the way my life was. And that's just the way that I thought life was for all kids, until I turned 12 years old. And when I turned 12, I was actually handed a black trash bag and I was put in foster care. Every single day in our country, we have one child every 2 minutes to enter the foster care system. That's 700 kids a day. And the majority of the children who enter the system enter carrying a black trash bag. And what I want your listeners to understand is that children enter foster care because of choices other people made. We cannot forget that. These are not bad kids. These are kids who have been put in a situation, and that we have a system that is supposed to save them and help them and protect them. And that's what I thought foster care would do for me. See, the fact is both of you must understand, I had already known as a 12-year-old boy what foster care was, because my brothers and my sisters had already started falling to the wayside. Teenage pregnancy, incarceration, drug addiction. As we all sit here and have this podcast, we need to understand that close to 80% of our death row inmates were actually in foster care. Nelson Mandela said it very clearly, that each and every one of us are judged in society by the way we treat our children. And kids who are in foster care, they don't belong to you. They don't belong to me. They belong to us. And if we were to judge by the way we treat our 400,000 children in the system, my friends, we would fail.
I'm sure we would.
Well said.
What a massive problem this is. But you have taken it under your wing to make a difference about this situation.
When I went into my foster family's home, I truly wanted to be loved. That was my most important thing. And I remember, when I walked into that house for the very first time, I was expecting, I don't know, maybe some magic dust to appear. And all of a sudden they loved this new son that they had. But instead, they had 3 biological children, and then they had their foster kid. I was always made sure that I was treated like that. They never put a picture of me on the mantle. They never gave me a birthday party. I never went to camp like the other kids went to camp. But then in the fall of 1984, I'll never forget it. I was a senior in high school, and understanding that kids who are in foster care, we only see 54% of kids in foster care even graduate high school. We only see 11% fill out a college application. And in the United States, only 3% of kids in foster care will actually get a 4-year college degree. And I was getting ready to graduate high school, the first person in my family, until I walked into that house that day, that fall crisp day of my 18th birthday. And there sitting in the living room was my trash bag full of my belongings. And I remember I looked at my mom, and by the way, I called her mom because I thought she loved me. And I said, "What is this?" And she says, "You have to go." And I looked at my dad, and I had lived there for years. I said, "This is my home." He said, "No, this is not your home. This is your house. This is our home. And you're now 18 years old. We are no longer going to receive a check. And since we're no longer going to receive a check, you can no longer live here." And I literally became homeless. See, the fact is, 22,000 children in the United States will age out of the foster care system. And 70% of those kids within the first 12 months will become homeless, just like me. And I will tell you, those first couple of nights being homeless was the scariest time of my life. I wanted to feel the cigarettes of my dad on me so bad, because at least I knew if he was standing there burning me, at least he was there. And instead, I took my trash bag, I hid it behind a bush, and I walked into school. And I walked into school every single day, no matter how dirty I was, no matter how long-haired I was, no matter how bad I smelled. I earned that place at that desk to get that education that I was promised. And by the way, I got it. And I graduated from high school. I joined the United States Navy, and I became a very, very successful businessman, because that's all that life was supposed to be about, was about what I wanted and not about what I could give to my country.
You made some good choices.
You shared that once someone gets into the foster system, it's not only is education very difficult, but also many of them are incarcerated or end up in mental health system. It is definitely a broken system that does need a lot of perspective and looking into. I noticed that you had said that you'd like us to stop calling youth in foster care foster kids. And I can see where we're headed here, but could you talk to us about that?
Yeah, I'm a true believer that labels are no longer needed. The fact is that we as a society have been able to change. We no longer say, oh, look at that homeless man on the corner. We let them say, look at that person who is experiencing homelessness. Why? Because they are a person. They are a human being. A child in our foster care system is a child. They are a child. They are not a foster child. They are a child who are experiencing foster care. Because as soon as you say foster child, immediately people think, what did that kid do wrong? Immediately people think, oh, that kid's got trouble. That kid's bad. But if you say kid, before you say foster, your heart gets a little warm. And I think that that's so important that we need to change our vocabulary, and we need to change our vocabulary today. You made the comment about the system is broken. I am sorry to tell you this. The system is not broken. See, the thing is broken things, you take super glue and you put it back together. The system is shattered. It's shattered. And when something is shattered, it must be rebuilt. And that's what we must do, is we must rebuild our foster care system. The sad part is that it's the same reason that we started our organization 12 years ago, to make sure that every child receives a brand new backpack with all their belongings and not a trash bag. We're not doing things. Some states are doing some things. Other states are doing some things. I can't sit here and say that there's any state that's getting it right. The thing that we have to do, though, is that we truly must understand that if we don't all get on the same page, we will continue this cycle that we continue to see, which is no more than children in foster care going to the penitentiary, going into the psychiatric hospitals. And by the way, just to let you know, 78% of all children who are human trafficked in the United States of America are in foster care. It is an industry that makes money on the backs of children, and people are not wanting to sit here and talk about it. And by the way, when a child enters foster care, you've already failed. Okay. We have to get back to society where we try to help to make sure these children don't come into the system. The fact that we need to understand that we have separated our churches and our states so much, and take it from a gay man who has 4 children of color, 1 child who is white. My faith is so important. But the thing that I can tell you is that churches are put here to help our community, and they have stopped doing that. They have stopped doing that. And that's why we continue to see more and more deterioration of the families. And that we need to see less of, and we need to see more communities stepping up. They get a big tax break to be a church. They can get a big break if they can help a family. Because if we can save 1 child from coming into foster care, that's a success.
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
Start your morning right with premium coffee roasts available at ZuzuNetwork.com, and drink them in your Zuzu All Grown Up coffee mug. Also perfect for tea and hot chocolate.
Stay inspired throughout the day with the same gratitude journal used by Karolyn and Chris, and check out t-shirts, hats, books, Christmas keepsakes, and more at ZuzuNetwork.com/shop.
Join Zuzu's network today at ZuzuNetwork.com/join.
Karolyn is creating an international network of aspiring angels, everyday people who believe that they can help make the world a better place by making life better for even just one other person.
Let us know you want to earn your wings at ZuzuNetwork.com/join, and Karolyn and Chris will send you inspirational material to support you in your journey.
We're back with more Zuzu All Grown Up.
I wrote my memoir called A Forever Family. It was published by Simon & Schuster and Derek Jeter. And it talks about my life, and it talks about the lives of my children, and, how my kids arrived. The only regret I have about my book is that I had not adopted my 5th child by the time I had written my memoir. And since then, we've adopted a 5th child, and my child arrived at the age of 18, which is unheard of. Met him giving a speech. He had been in the system since he was 5. He had been in 11 homes, and I fell in love with him, and my husband fell in love with him, and My other 4 children fell in love with him, and we adopted him. And now we have 5 kids. When I decided to start Comfort Cases, which is to give hope and dignity to our youth who are in foster care by giving them that overnight bag with their pajamas and their toothbrush and their lotion and their book and their blankie and stuffy. I was giving a speech at a local high school, and the young boy walked up to me and he said, "Mr. Scheer, will you sign my book?" And I said, "Of course. What is your name?" He said, "Alex." I said, "Tell me something about yourself." He said, "I have nothing to tell." I said, "Alex, we all have a story." And he said, "No, my story's like yours. I've been in the system. I'm 18, and I'm probably going to be homeless just like you were." It hit me so hard. I gave him my business card and I said, "Alex, I want you to call me." I said, "We're going to figure this out." And sure enough, 3 months later, we figured it out by looking at Alex and asking him, would he like to have a forever family? I remember that night where he cried and he said, "I can always live here." And I said, "You can always live here. This is your family." And then a year later, we filed for adoption and we adopted him. So he is a Scheer, just like our other 4 children.
So when did you and your husband restart Comfort Cases?
My husband grew up in Kansas. He never even knew the word foster care until he met me, and we met in DC. And the one thing I asked him on my very first date was, "Do you want to be a dad?" I said, "Listen, I'm getting old and I don't want to waste any more time, and I want to be a dad." And he said, "After I get my master's," he's like, "I'd love to be a parent." And so my husband and I ended up being together. And 15 years ago, our children started arriving. And 12 years ago, I was sitting in my office and my husband came into my office. He had quit his job to be a stay-at-home dad. And he came into my office to plan a toy drive. And I said to him, I said, "I don't want to do it." And he said, "Why not?" And I said, "What are we teaching our children?" I said, we've adopted these beautiful kids out of foster care. I said, they have passports, they travel the world, they go to private schools. I said, "We forgot to teach them the most important thing." And he said, "What is that?" And I said, "Empathy. We forgot to teach them empathy." And see, the fact is that we must understand that empathy is not in our DNA. Empathy is taught. And so my husband said, "What do you want to do?" And I literally opened up my desk drawer and I pulled out a trash bag and I laid it on my desk. See, the fact is that I always have a trash bag near me because I never want to forget where I came from. I don't want my children ever to be embarrassed of where they came from. But what I do want my kids to do, and which I want other kids to do in this system, is stop blaming the system and let's start changing this system. And for me, it was by removing trash bags. Literally, we got members of our church, some of my senior staff, we got some local politicians, and I told my story, the story I just shared with all of you. We packed a backpack, brand new pair of pajamas with a tag. Every child got their own lotion, their own shampoo, their own conditioner, and their own bar of soap. I wanted every single child to get an activity. For kids over the age of 10 to get a journal and a pen and pencil set, and kids under the age of 10 to get a coloring book and crayons. I then wanted every child to get a book because I truly do believe that the way to a child's mind is the pathway of a book, and a good book that they can fall into. I then wanted to make sure that every child got a stuffed animal. And then my son Grayson, who was 5 years old at the time, he's now 16. He said, "Daddy, we have to make sure that everybody gets a blankie." And I was like, "A blankie?" I was like, "These kids aren't cold, Grayson." He says, "I know." He says, "But when they wrap themselves up in their blankie, they know we love them." My friends, isn't that what we all want? We want to be loved. We want to know that we matter, that we're not disposable. And with that, we packed a case and another and another. And in the last 12 years, because of amazing humans from all over the country, we have packed and delivered over 250,000 cases.
Oh, wow.
My goodness.
We have delivered them to all 50 states, DC and Puerto Rico. And in 2021, my family went to the UK, where we opened up a center in the United Kingdom where we serve 84,000 children in the UK.
Do you have a lot of volunteers?
We are a 96% volunteer-ran organization, and we have a 3-month waiting list for volunteers to come into our center. People are good. People want change. The problem is that they don't know what to do. Once you tell them and educate them of the issue, and then you teach them how to solve it, they will solve the problem. And we're proof of that.
Can you tell us how you get donations and what happens at a packing party?
Oh, I love it. So number one, donations come because of amazing humans like the two of you allowing me on your podcast for all your listeners to hear. They go to comfortcases.org and they can donate books and they can donate money. They can become a bag buster. They can donate backpacks and pajamas. There's ways listed completely of all the ways they can donate. And then what happens is we have packing parties all over the country. And last year we had 189 packing parties, and we gather our community and we pack these backpacks and then we leave them right there in the area that we're at. So for instance, I'm in New York City right now, and there's a packing party that will go on. We'll leave these cases here. I will leave from here. My next stop is Nashville. After Nashville, I go back to LA and just all over the country to continue to educate people that children in foster care, they deserve all of this love. We're all the same age. And so you probably heard the same story I used to hear when I was younger. And people would say, oh, if you invest in a child, you invest in their future. That is a lie. That has been a lie that's been told generation after generation after generation. When you invest in a child, you actually invest in your future, in my future, because they are our leaders of tomorrow. So why wouldn't we invest in them?
We'll join Karolyn and Chris in just a moment with more of Zuzu All Grown Up.
First, an important message.
To find out more about the organization featured in today's episode or a previous episode, and to learn more about how you can help, go to zuzunetwork.com/beanangel.
We asked parents who adopted teens to share their journey.
We just kind of knew from the beginning that we were family.
They showcased a sense of love that I never had before. I mean, he's not only my parent, like he's like my best friend.
At the end of the day, it's all been worth it. I wouldn't change a thing about our lives.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. Visit adoptuskids.org to learn more. Brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
Have you heard? Affordable healthcare is better than ever. And right now there are more carriers and plans to choose from. If you're between 18 and 64 years old with a household income of $25,000 or less, this message is for you. Right now, the government's Affordable Care Act is available for individual and family health coverage plans with little to no cost to you. Don't gamble your health. Call Health Care for All. 70% of callers qualify for a zero-cost health care coverage. See if you are one of them. Call now. Our agents are standing by to help you get the health insurance plan you and your family needs and deserves. If you're uninsured or struggling to afford your current health insurance, help is just a phone call away. This is not Medicaid or Medicare. This is the marketplace with the largest selection of healthcare plans from the Affordable Care Act. To find a plan that's right for you, call 800-788-2406. That's 800-788-2406.
A careless driver can change your life in an instant. Do you know what to do or who to call? If you've been injured in a motor vehicle accident and don't have an attorney, call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free consultation. We can answer all of your questions and estimate the potential value of your case. Call Auto Accident Help Desk and connect with an expert personal injury attorney.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Don't worry how to handle your medical bills, lost wages, and pain. We will get you the money you deserve.
They got me way more than the insurance company offered.
The consultation is free, and you don't pay any legal fees unless we win or settle your case. Make the smart call if you've been injured in an auto accident. Call Auto Accident Help Desk for a free legal consultation.
Call 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312. 800-348-7312.
Auto Accident Help Desk.
Zuzu's book club features recommendations from Zuzu herself on books she loves and thinks you will love also. All of the books that the club reads, fiction and nonfiction, are inspirational and uplifting. Folks, this is a life-enhancing club to be part of. You can sign up for free at zuzunetwork.com/book club. That's zuzunetwork.com/book club. Today's book club feature, A Forever Family, Fostering Change One Child at a Time, by Rob Scheer. This powerful memoir takes you inside Rob's life, from a childhood marked by trauma to becoming a father, advocate, and founder of Comfort Cases. You can find the book of Forever Family, Fostering Change One Child at a Time, on Amazon.
This is Zuzu, all grown up.
Now I spend my time as a public speaker. My kids are older, so they get to travel with me quite a bit, and they love that. My husband travels with me. You know, it is definitely our family's organization, so we are very, very much a part of it. It does consume a lot of my time. The thing that my children say to me all the time, which I absolutely love, is that they always say, "Dad, when you're home, you're always home for us. And when you're out there, you're always showing love for other children." And to me, you know, that's what's important. Is I've raised my kids where now I can see empathy flow out of their eyes. I've raised my kids to realize that your legacy is about what you give to your community, not what you take. And to understand the fact that our community is not our zip code. That is not our community. Our community is our human race. So what affects people in the little town that I live in Darnestown, Maryland, affects people in Austin, Texas, which affects people in San Francisco. Those are the things that we must understand as human beings, is that each and every one of us as a ripple effect affect each other. And if we can make a change within children, children are truly how tomorrow will be better. Children helping children. That's why we started clubs throughout the country in different high schools and middle schools called the Comfort Case Club, where we're teaching kids about foster care, because we truly want to make sure that when you say foster, you don't continue to keep thinking bad, that you just understand that these kids came into a system because of a choice that someone else made. So I'm very lucky. I get to meet children in foster care all over the country. And they always say to me, "Mr. Rob, why?" And I say, "Why what?" And they say, "Why would somebody give me all of this new stuff and they don't know me?" I tell the children, as I tell both of you, you do not have to know someone to love someone. You don't have to know them to love them. And when these kids unzip that backpack, you can feel that love flowing out, because we give a card in every one, and whoever packed that bag signs that card. And so this child gets to see that this complete stranger put all of these items together, took a pair of pajamas and wrapped a ribbon around it, took a blanket and wrapped a ribbon around it, made sure that the corners of the book wasn't bent and torn, made sure that they took the time and love to build this case, that this child does nothing but feel that love when they unzip it.
I think that people are very stingy when it comes to sharing their love. You know, it's like, "Oh, I don't know. There's strings attached here." And what I'm seeing is that it crosses all barriers, all, cultures, that you are a man just full of love, that you have been able to turn all that pain, all that suffering, and been able to transform that into a beautiful gift.
I look at my brothers and my sisters who have fallen to the wayside and haven't been able to make it. The thing is that I don't want to blame the system. The system was there, put in a place. I want to change the system. And people ask me all the time, where did I get my grit? I will tell you, and I hope your listeners really take this in. It's called forgiveness. The most powerful thing that you can ever do is to forgive someone. That forgiveness is not for them. That forgiveness is for you. It is for you to take the power back that was taken from you. And so I forgave my parents. I forgave my foster parents. I forgave my community who allowed this 12-year-old boy to go through what he went through, and then to be a senior in high school and no one coming up to me saying, "Are you okay?" I forgave them so I could be free. And that is where my love comes from.
That did not come easily.
You know, the fact is that I'll never forget it. I was on my 4th suicide attempt, which is very common. And I remember waking up in the hospital, and I remember looking up, and I remember saying, you definitely have a different plan for me, because the plan that I wanted, which was to escape because of the pain, wasn't happening. And I remember I left that hospital, and I remember I went to my mother's grave. I had not been to my mother's grave since I was 12 years old. And I remember falling to my knees, and I remember crying and saying to her, I forgive you. I forgive you for not protecting me. I forgive you for allowing him to touch me and to burn me. And I forgive you from just the hell that I went through. And then I said, I'll never be back. And I want you to know that I forgive you, not for you to lie here peacefully, but I forgive you so I can now be free. And that literally is what happened. And that's literally when I felt that weight off my shoulder.
That was a journey that didn't stop as soon as you turned 18. It seems like it kept spiraling. Somehow there's this inner strength that emerged and was able to take on that positive, spin, to come back up the spiral, so to speak, and to be the man that you are today, which is a beautiful thing to say. So it must be really beautiful for Reese to be part of this. I'm sure that he's every bit as involved in it as you are. Like with Karolyn and I,
when people read my memoir, they say it's a love story. I am the man I am today because of my husband. My husband is the kindest, the strongest, the most loving, caring human. And I could not do what I do today. We would have not raised 5 beautiful kids if it wasn't for his undying love for his family. I always say to him, I am the luckiest person in the world because I got to marry my best friend. And after almost 20 years, he still makes me smile when I walk in a room. So I'm very lucky.
Well, what's next for Comfort Cases?
What's next? Oh my gosh. So the next thing that we're hoping to do is we're hoping to expand into Canada. We're hoping to, bring more light and awareness, whether it's through doing television or radio or more podcasts. But, for me, one, we are done adopting, but what we definitely want to do is continue to keep doing what we are doing, which is advocate for children in foster care, to let them know they have a voice and to let them know that they should never, ever be ashamed of where they came from and understand that they have the power. And the power is so, so amazing when you see change. You cannot give a child a trash bag in foster care. When you see that type of change happening, you know what? Like I said to my kids a while back, we might not go on those big vacations we used to go on anymore. And my kids don't go to private schools any longer. But the thing that my kids have and that I have and that my husband have is that we actually sit down at the dinner table and we have grace.
Anyone would like to contact you, how would they do that?
That is so nice of you. If anybody can go to comfortcases.org, that's comfortcases.org. They can go on, they can make a donation financially. They can also go onto our website and it gives opportunities for you to send items to us. I'm a true believer in saying that there's no such thing as a used book. It's only a book that's been loved. And so I love when kids go on their bookshelves and they pull books off and they send them to us. And so there's opportunities for them to do that at very, very little cost. So comfortcases.org is definitely the place to go. There's normally not a week that goes by that I'm not visiting a school somewhere because I truly want kids to understand that they have a voice. And our center is full of kids all the time coming in, packing cases because they feel that they're making an impact. And kids truly want to do something. Again, we have to give them the tools to do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you to Rob Scheer for joining us and sharing his incredible journey. His work through Comfort Cases is proof that one person really can make a world of difference. We'll be right back with a closing thought.
Do you know someone who is earning their wings? Someone practicing kindness and service to others? Perhaps an organization or initiative helping make the world we live in a kinder, sweeter place.
Or maybe you've witnessed the miraculous, the divine, the magnificent in some way in your life and you'd like to share it with others, go to zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory and let us know more.
You may end up being featured on an upcoming episode of Zuzu All Grown Up. That's zuzunetwork.com/tellmystory. Now here's Seth Kennedy with today's parting thoughts.
Not all of us have lived through what Rob Scheer has, but all of us have the power to choose what we do with our stories. Rob chose love, service, and hope, and then gave it away, one backpack at a time. You don't need to run an organization to make a difference. You just need to notice someone, care enough to act, and offer what you can. Until next time, I'm Seth Kennedy, and you've been listening to Zuzu All Grown Up.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Zuzu All Grown Up.
We hope you've been inspired to live your most wonderful life now and to help those around you do the same.
Remember, no matter what you're going through, no matter who you are, there are people who care about you and your life makes a difference.
It is a wonderful life.
Check out zuzunetwork.com for more on today's and other episodes, including transcripts and merchandise you won't want to be without.
New episodes are coming soon.
For transcripts of today's broadcast, go to zuzunetwork.com/transcripts.
Watch a video clip of today's episode at www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up. Then click on the Reels tab from the top of the center of the page. Catch up on past episodes and discover currently premiering and upcoming episodes as well, and get helpful links and exclusive clips from our recordings. That's www.instagram.com/Zuzu All Grown Up.
Zuzu All Grown Up with your hosts Karolyn Grimes and Dr. Brunell.
Announcer and guide Seth Kennedy.
Executive producer Kevin R. Stillmock.
Coordinating producer Holly Ann Way.
Technical producer Stella Joel.
Managing producer Karina Filatova. A Wonderful Land production.
In collaboration with Radio Wonderful.